And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Nelson versus Thomas. Step forward, please.
24-year-old nursing assistant Natasha Nelson is suing her ex-boyfriend's wife, 22-year-old nurse Natasha Thomas, for vandalizing her car. Natasha is countersuing for harassment.
Are you Mr. Thomas?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're his wife?
Yes.
And Ms. Nelson, you have children. Father of those children is Mr. Thomas.
Correct.
It is your claim that his wife vandalized your car.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. How long are you married?
4 years.
You have children?
Yes.
How many children?
2.
How old are they?
3 and 1.
And Ms. Nelson, how old are the children that you have by Mr. Thomas?
2 years and 4 weeks.
Right.
Okay.
Other than the obvious, Ms. Nelson, your car was vandalized when?
It was vandalized on the night of July 4th.
Just a sec. July 4th of this year?
Yes.
Did you see Miss Thomas vandalize your car?
No, I was at home.
Mr. Thomas had borrowed your car?
Yes.
Do you have any proof that Mrs. Thomas vandalized your car?
He told me that she vandalized my car.
Stand up. Mr. Thomas, did you see your wife vandalize Miss Nelson's car?
No, ma'am.
Did she confess to you that she had vandalized her car?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever tell Miss Nelson that your wife vandalized her car?
No, ma'am.
What were you doing driving Miss Nelson's car?
Me and my cousin, we went out that night, and we used the car just to go out that night. And he told her before I got home, before I got there, I mean, that I guess they don't get along.
Sit down. Miss Nelson, has he been living with you or with his wife?
He's been living with her for the past, I mean, he was living with me around the time when I got pregnant with my second child.
And what about your first?
No, he told, well, that happened. They were separated. He told me that they were divorced. When I found out that they were still married, I was already pregnant with my first daughter.
So you knew he was a liar? You knew he was a liar when you got pregnant with your second child?
True.
That's what you get. Listen, you have no proof that she vandalized your car.
He told me that she vandalized my car.
He denies that now.
Well, I mean...
I don't know. I mean, he's a liar.
Exactly.
So when am I supposed to figure out when he's lying and telling the truth? Now he's telling the truth? He's talking to you and he's telling the truth?
Well, his cousin called and told me that she vandalized the car.
You can't tell me what his cousin... Listen to me.
Okay, well...
Well, listen, you're trying to talk over me? You can't tell me what his cousin told you.
Okay.
I just asked him, and he's been sworn, whether his wife confessed. He said no. If you want to be dumb enough to let him use your car, that's your problem.
Exactly.
That's your...
I know, I understand that.
Good.
When he bought me my car back, he took me outside, showed me the damages, and he said that she vandalized my car. He came in the house, his shirt was all ripped up because she got thrown out of the club because him and her was arguing and fighting, and she told him that she was going to go outside and vandalize my car. She went outside and vandalized my car, and since then I've been telling her I want my car fixed. Yes, I have been harassing her, and because I want my car fixed, the police came and took fingerprints off the car. Every time they come to her house, she won't open the door because she knows she's guilty.
Miss Nelson, listen to me carefully. This is not a talk show. It's a court. You have no proof that she vandalized your car. She probably did it.
I know she did it.
Well, she probably did it. Why in the world you would let him drive your car, I have no idea. Why? He's a liar. He's a two-timer. Mm-hmm. He's married. You have 2 children with him. Mm-hmm. So, does that make you smart or dumb? Does that make you smart or dumb?
It was dumb for me again, the second one, but the first one, I mean, I didn't know.
Madam, listen to me. Were you married to him?
No, I wasn't married to him.
Then is there any reason why you should have a child with him?
Well, he shouldn't have lied about not being married the first time.
Listen to me.
And I wouldn't have.
You weren't married to him. Why are you having a child with him?
Like I said, I didn't know that he was still married when I had my first child.
He wasn't married to you.
So?
Go have your car fixed. Not by her.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Basically, she knows she messed up my car.
Basically, this was a waste of time. As you can see, she's ghetto.
Whatever.
Some stuff happened in the past, and I'm not with her no more, and she can't get over that.
Oh, I don't want you. I mean, basically, it's on and cracking now with me and her.
She's threatened me plenty of times. She knows where I live at.
I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that she pays for my car.
Whatever, she's just mad.
I'm going to get even with both of them.
She's woofing.
Because I don't have a care in the world no more.
She just told you she don't care about her kids or anything like that.
I don't care.
I have better class than that.
Michael and Saida Rossi and Michael's mother, Linda, are suing wedding banquet managers Roy and Rita Vermish for a refund of the cost of their wedding reception. The Rossis say the waitresses were rude and the plantains were terrible.
Order. All rise. Yes, this is case number 309 on the calendar in the matter of Rossi versus Holden Hills. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Mr. and Mrs. Rossi, you recently got married,
Yes, ma'am.
and the defendants catered your wedding.
Yes, ma'am.
You were not real happy with the wedding,
Very upset.
and you want half your money back, which
Yes,
was
ma'am.
$3,000. When was the wedding?
August 10th, 2002.
And how many people did you have at the wedding?
120, ma'am.
Did they have a catering hall?
Actually, it's a country club / reception hall catering company.
And they provided the food.
Yes, ma'am.
They say that everything just went along swimmingly well, except for some little bananas or something that weren't
No.
done quite right. So I have a few questions before we get into what you weren't happy with.
Okay.
Having done a few weddings myself, I know that you usually go for a tasting of the food and to pick the menu. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you go for the tasting?
Approximately 1 or 2 months before the actual wedding day.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's say you went there sometime in either June or July, and you picked the menu.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had dinner.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you meet the chef?
Yes, ma'am.
On August 10th of 2002, did you have the same chef?
Yes, we did.
Same chef.
Yes, but she was fired that night.
We let her go that night, and we terminated her shortly thereafter.
Why?
Well, her attitude was, can't do anything about it now type of attitude, instead of being apologetic. And
Can't do anything about what?
the fact that the plantains were not properly prepared.
Let's start. So you say there was nothing wrong at the wedding except the plantains were not properly prepared. Is that right, sir?
That was Mr. Rossi's main complaint that
I'm
night.
not talking about his main complaint. I'm talking about you do wedding. What was wrong with the food?
The only thing that was wrong with the food, Your Honor, was the plantains were not ripe and therefore were not prepared properly.
Let me hear.
That's not true.
Let's start with the first complaint.
Well, when we arrived at the reception hall and had our photographs taken, shortly thereafter, probably about 7 o'clock, we entered into the hall. There was no appetizers in the bridal room, as we had requested. There didn't seem to be any coordination.
That was in the bridal room, not,
Right.
not where the reception was being held.
Right.
So you didn't have an hors d'oeuvre to eat when you got there? You
Right.
personally?
Right.
Let's move on.
Okay. We walked into the reception hall after we were introduced, and all the salads were supposed to be in front of our guests and in front of our tables waiting for us.
Okay, so when you come into Michael and Zyda Rossi, come in, and everybody's standing around their tables, and the salads are supposed to be in place at that
Right.
time, and they were not there.
Right.
Why not?
Correct. The salads were not the first course, Your Honor. The first course, the appetizer course, was a pasta course. So the pasta would have been served before the salads as an appetizer.
Well, was pasta served?
The pasta was served before the salads, ma'am. And the salads were supposed to be on the table waiting for our guests, and then the pasta was supposed to be served after the salads.
Do you have a copy of the menu?
I have a copy of the contract, and it has everything that is on the menu. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but does it say what's to be served first, the pasta or the salad?
It says that it is cheese and the fruit displays, and then it says ziti and marinara, and then the chicken and the plantains afterwards. It doesn't say that the salad should be served before.
Okay,
No.
so what's your next complaint?
My next complaint is after they served the ziti, then they served the salads, and then we had to wait an hour before they actually served the dinner. So what we had to do is we had to ask the DJ to move along with the garter toss and the flower toss and the cake cutting. And we had to do this all before the dinner. The dinner wasn't served until 9:20 p.m. And the dinner was supposed to be served in between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, ma'am. We were married at 5 o'clock. And we had to go around and apologize to everybody
Yeah,
for not
between
the food.
7:30 and 8 o'clock. What happened? What happened?
What happened is the bridal party was running late that day, and when we say 7:30, 8 o'clock, it's an estimated time. 99% of the time it runs late.
Why did it run an hour and a half late, is my question. Were you having trouble with the chef?
I think Mr. Rossi's referring to the entree being served
Yeah,
at 9:20.
he's talking about the entree.
I'm not sure it was 9:20, Your Honor. It might have been closer to 9. But if the party runs late, we still have to go through all the steps of serving the meal correctly, which means serving the appetizer,
So you weren't having
clearing
any
the
problem.
plates.
You weren't having any problem with the
No,
chef. Okay,
no.
let's go next.
Ma'am, after he served...
Let's go next. The meal comes. Is anything wrong with the meal?
Oh, yeah. It was disgusting. It was nasty. I
Couldn't
mean,
even make out what the plantains were. They were like rotten. They were hard.
it was
Okay,
disgusting.
now what was
It was
served
supposed
with...
to be an ethnic meal.
Okay, what are you having as a main dish?
We're having Spanish rice, boneless chicken, with plantains on the side.
Okay, so that was the side dish.
Right.
A side dish. That was the main problem, the plantains.
Well, the rice was nothing compared to what we had the day of our taste testing.
It was
The chicken
mu-
was either overcooked or undercooked, and the plantains, half the people couldn't even make out what they were.
Well, he acknowledges that they were pretty nasty.
The rice was mushy. It was nothing what we had at the taste testing.
Okay, usually isn't.
It was nothing in
Usually
comparison.
isn't.
Okay.
But what did you do for them because the plantain, their side dish, was bad?
Well, as the night went on, Mr. Rossi had been drinking quite a bit. He came in drinking out of the limousine and down the aisle when they were introduced. And it was hard dealing with him. He was very upset with reason. We take full responsibility for the plantains, and we did try to make restitution towards the end of the evening. We told him we'd give him like $300 for the plantains. He didn't want to hear about it, threw them at my feet in my office, where Linda Rossi had to take him out of the office. At the end of the night, I told him to go on his honeymoon, come back, and we'll discuss it when he comes back. And he came back with, Your Honor, this grocery list of 3 pages of what we think are nonsense nitpicking items.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I take the plantain out of the napkin. I said, look at what you're serving my guest. This was totally embarrassing. I threw it on the floor.
Get over it. There are worse things that happen globally than bad bananas.
And later today,
She said I could have a couple friends over.
Couple, like Noah's Ark, 2 by 2, couples, 2. So how many people did you have at this July 4th party?
About 20 now.
20 is more than a couple.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael and Zaida Rossi say wedding banquet managers Roy and Rita Vermish owe for a refund of their wedding reception. The Rossi say the food was inedible.
Go ahead, Mr. Rossi, I'll hear you.
Okay, I had a couple of beers. I was not drunk.
Okay.
When the dinner was served at 9:20 p.m., I took one of the plantains and I put them in a napkin. I went out to the bar area and I was looking to speak to Roy. And that's where I encountered this woman where she was the head waitress, and I asked to speak to Roy. She wouldn't let me speak to him. He was very busy. Finally, he comes around the corner and I take him into the office. I said, Roy, can I speak to you? He said, sure. I take him in the office. I said, Roy, look what time it is. It's 9:20. I got married at 5:30. And I take the plantain out of the napkin. I said, look at what you're serving my guest. I was so upset. This was our wedding day. This was totally embarrassing. I threw it on the floor. I was upset. I admit I threw it on the floor. And I told him, this is embarrassment, and I expect a refund or I will take you to court.
Fine, how much of a refund did you want?
Well, we set up an appointment and I asked him for $3,000
Well, $3,000 is outrageous. That's half.
Ma'am, we had golfers come in and eat.
You just listen to me. $3,000, that's half.
It was a real embarrassment, ma'am.
Well, you get over it.
The waitresses were rude.
Excuse me,
Half
Your
of them
Honor.
wouldn't serve water.
I want to tell you something. I'm not minimizing the fact that this was not the wedding that you planned on, that you had nasty waitresses, that the rice wasn't good, that the chicken wasn't terrific, that the meal was served 45 minutes to an hour late. I'm not minimizing any of that. What that would do is to say to somebody, never use this catering hall again, because we were totally dissatisfied. But if there was one thing, and it was clear from what Mr. Rossi says, the one thing that really irritated him, the one thing that he did was he brought this plantain in a napkin and threw it on the floor, because that was what was awful. Look what you're serving my guest. There should be some restitution for that, not half the cost of your wedding. Put your hand down. Are you a mother?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, tell you, if you're her mother, then what you do is you say to yourself, you're going to teach your daughter a little bit of what's important and what's not. You don't get yourself totally exercised over something at a wedding. You got married. It's supposed to be a nice day. If the little bananas weren't right, you get over it. It's not the worst thing in the world. There are worse things that happen globally than bad bananas. And you don't expect it to be...
When you pay for a service,
It's not
you
the whole
expect to
thing.
get it.
Absolutely,
$6,000 for a service,
absolutely
then
right.
you expect to
And
get
there are
it.
certain things that are objective, and there are certain things that are subjective. Attitudes of waitresses is not something that I could put on a barometer. Whether golfers came into the country club and ate your appetizers, something that you should consider before you book a country club where they have golfing people coming inside.
Well, they had assured us that golfers were
Listen to
offering
me.
it by 6 p.m.
Listen to me. You're not following what I'm saying to you. If you're dissatisfied with the service, you don't recommend them again. You fed 120 people. 120 people came, they danced. Put your hand down, Mr. Rossi. That's what your main concern was. Your main gripe was one of the side dishes, and it's true that there were only 2 side dishes, turned out to be really lousy. You had your salad, you had your pasta, you had your cake, you had chicken, you had drinks. Let's see what else you had. You had cheese and fruit display. I assume that was there. You had hors d'oeuvres, you had beef teriyaki, scalloped bacon meatballs. Since I heard nothing about that, I assumed that they were there.
I would like to compliment.
You had something with grated cheese, you had chicken, rice, and plantains. Now, the plantains were lousy. They acknowledged that. You had wedding cake and ice cream, which I assume was served.
No, they did not even serve us. They didn't even offer me and my wife a piece of the wedding cake, ma'am.
Oh, get over it.
Can I say
Judgment for the
something?
plaintiff, listen to me, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. The whole wedding was $6,000, $500, as far as I'm concerned, covers the
Nothing.
bad plantains. Goodbye. Be happy.
All these are excuses. You may step out.
get to say anything.
She didn't want me to say anything about a dog coming in,
Came in, probably just walked into the place. Within seconds, he was out the door.
about coffee not being served, about water not being served.
I was probably rude, but I thought he was a drunk from downstairs.
About golfers eating your food, I mean, come on.
I think they should be happy and get on with their life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bullock versus Haycox. Step forward, please.
Nurse Karen Bullock is suing her ex-boyfriend, Ralph Haycox, for having her falsely arrested and for the return of her belongings. Ralph says during an argument, Karen hit him with a Big Mac.
Miss Bullock, how long were you and the defendant in a relationship?
Ralph and I were in a relationship for 9 years.
According to your complaint, the defendant had you falsely arrested on domestic violence charges and you were forced to spend some 30 days in jail. You want to be compensated for that. And in addition, you say that when he unceremoniously told you to get your stuff and get out, he kept some of your personal property and you want back or the value of that property. That's what your lawsuit is about, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Haycox, is that your name?
Yes.
Says that you got arrested because you deserve to get arrested. You spent time in jail because you deserve to spend time in jail, and that he has none of your property. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
When was this incident that caused you to be arrested?
It was in March of this year. I served 30 days in jail.
Well, tell me about it. What happened?
Ralph and, like I said, Ralph and I have been together for 9 years. I walked in and caught him in the bed with another woman.
Look at me, please. Don't
the
look
cops
at me.
was called and I was arrested. I was told it was a violation of a restraining order. And I appeared in front of the judge.
Just a second. When you came home, something must have happened if the police were called.
Actually, nothing. I told him, I told him, I said, oh, I done caught you in a lie. You told me it was over between him and his woman. Actually, him and I had problems.
Just a second. He called the police. You want to tell me, sir, what happened when she caught you?
I was home alone. There was no one there with me, and she came in with an attitude about
That's
something.
Not true.
And
That's not true.
we started having a debate, and the next thing I know, she had a Big Mac, and she took and slammed it in my face.
A Big Mac sandwich?
Yes.
That's not true.
Okay.
No.
And instead of going off and hitting her, I called the police, and she left and went to one of my neighbor's house to try to hide, but they put a warrant out for her, and about a week later they came to the house and picked her up.
Has there been incidents of violence between the two of you before?
Yes.
Tell me when.
Oh, the relationship was just full of violence and nonsense. We'd broken up maybe a half a dozen times before, and it's just time to stay away from each other. That's what I wanted her to do.
Okay. Now, what I read in the complaint was, Miss Bullock, it appears to me that there was a restraining order that was in existence at the time Mr. Haycox called the police and had you arrested for this hamburger incident. When was that restraining order issued?
Had to be a few years ago, but I didn't know that it was still in effect. To my knowledge,
But it was still in effect.
Evidently it was.
So he had a protective order.
Right.
So you served 30 days for violating that protective order.
That's what I found out it was.
Now, did you plead guilty to violating the protective order?
Yes, I did.
Do you have any of the criminal court papers, please?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at them. Let's... Thanks.
I'll have something else here, too.
Well, this was issued in February, and this protective order says that you are to refrain from doing anything to him and to refrain from entering the family dwelling. Mm-hmm. You pled guilty? You pled guilty to violating the restraining order?
That's what they got me on, for violating the restraining order.
You pled guilty and served 30 days?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Then you can't sue him for falsely having you arrested.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Now, what personal property do you say you still have in the defendant's house?
I have receipts and stuff, documented stuff that I had.
Like what? Give me an example.
A television. I have antiques in there, lamps, dishes, blow dryer, curling iron, mirror, handmade mirror.
Go ahead, sir. Do you have any of her stuff?
Yes, some of those things are there, but I've called her and tried to make arrangements with her so she could come and pick up her property.
Okay.
And she said, well, I'm going to settle it in court and don't call here anymore.
Fine.
So,
This is what you want to do. I want you to pack up her property. Pack it up neatly. Don't damage anything because you want this lady to leave you alone. Correct? What relative do you have? You live in New Britain, Connecticut?
I have a brother.
Do you get along with her brother?
yeah.
Good. 5 days from today, your brother, in the company of a police officer, will go to the house. He will give your brother your property. Do you understand? He says he has some of your property, and he doesn't look like a nut, so that he doesn't want you to come around anymore. So whatever you have that belongs to her, or you think even marginally belongs to her, be smart. Pack up, get ready for her brother to pick up. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. 5 days. That's all. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She'd stay out all night, stay out 2-3 days sometimes. She'd come home. I wouldn't let her in. I wouldn't let her in. And there's no way for a person to live.
I trusted him. You know, I was in love with him.
I've never trusted another person like that again, I'll tell you.
I fell for what he had to tell me. It was my stupidity, so.
I almost bring bad luck on her. I just wanted her to leave me alone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Griffin versus Harris. Step forward, please.
Sales rep Aaron Griffin is suing his ex-girlfriend, nurse's aide Darlene Harris, for the return of his personal property and for having him falsely arrested. Darlene says Aaron broke into her apartment.
Mr. Griffin, you are suing the defendant, who was your former girlfriend, because you say she had you falsely arrested for burglarizing her property. And what you were actually trying to do was to get some of your stuff out, because she had thrown you out. Ms. Harris said that you did in fact break in, and all the property that you wanted belonged to her. Is that right?
Yes.
Were you living together?
I had my own home.
Is that right?
No, he was living in my house.
Did he also have his own home?
Well, yes.
What was your stuff doing in her apartment?
We had decided to spend 2 weeks together. After a few days, I recognized that she didn't have some items. She didn't have a television in the bedroom. She didn't have a living room set. So I decided to move some of my belongings from my home over to her residence.
What did you move over?
I brought over my living room set, a television.
Which consisted of what?
Consisted of cherry oak table, 8 chairs. I also brought over a 19-inch television, a portable CD player, my clothing, some dishes, glasses, silverware, and also...
She didn't have any of that stuff?
She had some of it, but incomplete sets.
She didn't have enough for you to eat off of for 2 weeks?
Well, I wanted to assist, and as I said...
You wanted to assist in what?
Assist her in some of the items that she didn't have.
And so after 2 weeks it didn't work out. What happened, Mr. Griffin?
Well, we had planned to get married, and there was an issue in that I was still married and needed to get a divorce.
That's what Miss Harris said.
Yeah.
That's what Miss Harris said. She said when you brought the 8 chairs in, she didn't know you still had 8 chairs and a wife. Okay, so what happened?
She didn't apparently want to wait until I could get a divorce. So I decided that it was time for me to move out. That Monday morning, we had one final argument, and I left, but I did leave my belongings in the residence. The argument had gotten very bitter, and I decided that it was just best if I leave at that point.
That was smart.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Upon my return, I found that the defendant was not in her residence, and the door was locked. She had given me a key when I first arrived from Texas.
But she took the key off the ring.
Right, unbeknownst to me.
How do you retrieve your articles?
Well, actually, I came in through the side window. I kind of pushed it up and climbed in.
No, but how do you get them? You brought over a table, chairs, TVs, CDs. Where are you going to put all this stuff?
Well, I was going to place all of the items that I could carry into my vehicle.
What kind of vehicle do you have?
A Mercury Sable.
Is it one of those expandable Mercury Sables?
No, Your Honor. It's average size.
So you weren't planning too well.
I guess not, no.
So what happened? You crawl into the house and you open up the window, crawl into the house, and what happened next, sir?
I commenced to packing my clothing and my luggage, and the doorbell rang. And when the doorbell rang, I went to the door thinking it was the defendant.
It wasn't the defendant, it was the...
Police, right. It was the police upon me opening the door, but I thought it was the defendant.
Okay, what you thought was irrelevant.
Okay.
It's okay, so you opened the door and it was the police. Go ahead.
Correct. They asked me what my name was. I said Aaron Griffin. They said, you're now under arrest, and they charged me with burglary. The defendant indicated that she didn't know me.
Really?
Broken in.
Just a second. Did you tell the police you didn't know him?
No, I never told. No.
You told him to call his wife. She knows him.
Very well.
Were you there when she said she didn't know you?
They were actually leading me down the stairs of the porch, and she was standing in front of the house with the police.
Yes.
She said she didn't know me, that I had broken in.
That's pretty nasty if you did it.
I never said that. I never said that.
Okay, so let's talk about this report that you made to the police. Tell me about that.
I was coming up my street with my sister-in-law, and I saw his vehicle in my driveway. Shouldn't have been in my driveway because I had taken the key off the key ring. I was scared. We had an argument, you know, and I was...
So you called the police?
I called the police, and they met me at my house. They saw the window, and they arrested him.
They saw the window what?
It was broken.
How was it broken? The glass was broken?
Yes.
Did you break the glass?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Oh, you've left that out. You said you just pushed the window up a little bit. So you broke the window to get in?
Yes, I did.
That's not false arrest. You can't do that. It's not your house. You can't break a window to get in. So that takes care of your false arrest charge. Now you want all your furniture back.
Yes, I do.
Table, 8 chairs, 19-inch television, CD, dishes. You have all that stuff?
No, I do not.
Where is it?
I put it to the trash. I got rid of it.
Oh, no, Miss Harris, listen to me. You know how I caught him in fibs? That's a fib. You want to tell me what you did with this table and 8 chairs?
That's what I did with it.
Well,
I woke up one day and I was upset and I didn't want any reminder of him in my house, and I put that stuff out.
You put it out? Good.
Yes.
You pay for it. That was the wrong thing to do.
Well,
that was the wrong thing to do.
We were getting married and had a wife.
Listen to me. That was the wrong thing for you to do. You acted impulsively, and it was the wrong thing to do, so you have to pay for it. Because, A, I don't believe that you just took it outside and threw it out. You may have given it to somebody.
Well, people in the neighborhood, I'm sure they came and took the stuff up off the curb.
Including the television? Including the television set?
Yes.
That's fine, then you pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,250. But that's it, Mr. Griffin. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think that the defendant was a little dishonest as far as what occurred.
I never wanted him arrested. I just wanted him out of my house.
She really, in fact, had some feelings of scorn and wanted to retaliate.
I'm still angry and hurt, and it's just been too much.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of LeBron versus Pat Byrd. Step forward, please.
Receptionist Peggy LeBron is suing former friend, mechanical engineer Greg Patberg, for walking through a plate glass window in her home. Peggy says Greg was drunk on vodka.
This case is really sort of interesting. Miss LeBron, your husband was arrested.
Yes.
Because he went to shoot some of your neighbor's dogs with a BB gun.
Correct.
And as the police were taking him away, he told you to go and get the defendant, who was a bail bondsman.
Well, before that, Your Honor, he came back into the house. He got into an altercation with the neighbors because they saw him shooting at their dog. He came back into the house and got a real gun and pointed it at the neighbors.
Oh, so this time he pointed a real gun.
Correct.
Bottom line is, as the police were taking him away, he told you to go get the defendant, who was a bail bondsman.
No, he knows bail bondsman.
Or he knows bail bondsman. So what did you do? Where did you go to get him?
He lived right around the corner from our house.
So according to you, you went and you got him and you invited him over to your house.
Correct.
And he sat there all day drinking vodka and orange juice. And he got drunk and proceeded to break a plate glass door in your house. And you want him to pay for the door.
Yes,
That's what this case is about. Do you understand?
I heard it. I just don't.
All right. Now, Miss LeBron, I have a couple of questions for you. They take your husband away. You go around the corner and you get Mr. Patberg. And what do you say to him?
I said that my husband was just arrested and that he wanted me to come get him because he knows bail bondsman.
And he said, okay, I'll come to your house?
Correct.
Now, did he come back to the house with you?
Yes.
What time of the day or evening was this?
It was early in the morning.
Now, when he got there, what did he say to you?
He called a bail bondsman.
And did he make arrangements?
Well, they had to wait until my husband was processed.
Now, where did he get this vodka from?
I don't remember exactly where he got it that day.
I'm talking about that day. That's the day that
He always drinks vodka.
No, I understand. I don't understand that he always drinks vodka. I'm talking about that day. That's the day when he broke the door. You say he sat in your house all day.
Mm-hmm.
Until what time?
Until after my husband was brought back to the house later that night.
So he was drinking all day?
Correct.
Whose vodka was he drinking?
His own. I don't drink vodka.
So he brought the bottle with him?
He would have had to have.
Where'd you get the vodka from?
I believe we went out later in the day and purchased it.
What do you mean you believe?
Well...
Shh! What do you mean you believe? You got drunk. That was clear. That's what she says. That's what you say.
Yes, that's correct.
And you were drinking all day?
No, I was not drinking all day.
A part of the day?
A part of the day.
Where did you get the vodka from? Is my question.
From the liquor store.
Where was the liquor store?
Well, less than a mile away.
How did you get there?
Peggy gave me a ride.
Did you give him a ride to the liquor store?
I could have. I have before.
Were you drinking too?
Not vodka.
I don't care what you were drinking. Were you drinking too?
Beer.
So you don't remember whether you gave him a ride to the store? You could have.
I could have.
Let's say you did. Miss LeBron, you allowed him to get drunk in your house. What do you want from me? Should have said, take your vodka and go home. You're lucky he's not suing you for almost killing himself going through your plate glass door. This is a very easy lesson. If you allow someone to become inebriated in your house, and in this case, you don't even remember because you were probably so looped yourself, you don't even remember getting in your car and taking him to the liquor store. But if you permit him to get so drunk in your house that he staggers through a plate glass door, you are responsible. Totally responsible. You're not supposed to furnish a place where somebody can get so intoxicated that they can hurt themselves, certainly not cause damage to your place. They cause damage to your place. You pay for it. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy.
He got drunk and fell through my sliding glass door and broke it.
I'm not denying that I broke the door. I broke the door.
Figured he would take some responsibility for his own actions.
I did try and take responsibility for the door.
He hasn't lived up to his responsibility at all.
I went to the store, purchased the plywood, and at least put plywood in replacement of the glass.
It wasn't because I was inebriated. I don't drink and drive.
Healthcare worker Melba Singh is suing car detailer Evelyn Ross for gouging her eyes during an assault. Evelyn says Melba started it, and she finished it.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Caught me asleep there. Yeah, this is case number 307 on the calendar in the matter of Sane versus Ross. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Miss Sane, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you, scratched your face, causing you to bleed, scarring, etc.
Yes, ma'am.
When her car, which had been illegally parked in an area where you live,
Yes, ma'am.
when you requested that she move that car,
Yes, ma'am.
the defendant says that she was only there for a minute and that she was merely defending herself, but she has very long nails, which caused the scratching to your face. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, on what date did this happen?
April 2nd.
Where?
At my apartment where I live, out in the front parking area.
Are there outdoor parking spaces?
There is 6 spaces on each side. When she parked her car into the fire lane, there was empty spots that she could have parked in.
Is that correct?
No, that is not correct. It wasn't a fire lane, and my car was not illegally parked. I backed in to unload a vacuum cleaner. She illegally parked because she backed around.
No, Miss Ross. Listen to me. Your car was not parked in a legal spot.
It wasn't illegally parked either.
What does that mean, madam? You explain what that means to me.
It was not parked in a fire lane.
Where was it parked? It was parked in a regular parking space?
No, it was parked in the middle of it.
In the middle of
the
what?
driveway. It was parked in the middle of the driveway.
Oh, okay. So it's parked in the middle of a driveway.
Exactly. She could have went around either way.
Why didn't you park the ar in an appropriate parking place?
Because I was only in and out. I went there to drop off a vacuum.
Just a minute. So you parked your car in an illegal place in a driveway. That's what you did. Now, you were where? You came home and found the car there, or your car was already there?
I had went to my storage space, me and my witness and another friend. We had pulled my truck back to the very back of the apartments. I live in a 4-plex. And when I came out, the way I had went in, I couldn't go back out that way because there was vehicles filling my side and on the other duplex's side. So I was going to go around the very first car, go out through the front. But the lady that lives in apartment B, she always parks real far back, and her car was parked in the fire lane. I could not get through there.
Okay, so you could not get through to pull out so that you could get into your parking space?
Yes, ma'am.
Because her car was blocking you?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do?
I honked the horn. Like I said, we live in a small, it's just a 4-plex. I figured whoever owned it would come out. Nobody did.
Now, when you went into your storage space, was her car there?
No, ma'am.
How long were you in the storage space?
Probably about 30 minutes.
And when you came out, her car was there, and you said you started honking the horn. What happened when you honked the horn?
The children from the apartment next to me came up and asked me what my problem was, and asked me if they knew who the car belonged to, and they said yes, her name was Evelyn, and she was at their parents' house. And I asked them if they could go ask her to move it.
Did they do that?
Yes, ma'am, and they came back and said that she would move it when she got ready.
Okay, and about how long were the children gone?
Just a few minutes.
A minute or two? No
Yes,
more than
ma'am.
that. And then what's the very next thing that happened?
About that time, she came around the corner and she started walking over to her car, and I told her she needed to move her car at that time. And she stated that
What did you say to her?
I told her that she needed to move her car.
That's not what she said.
No, I'm sure that's not what
That
she
is
said.
not what she
did you
said.
say?
That's the nicest version she could have put it in.
I want to know what you said to her.
I told her that she needed to move the car at that time, and she said she was not going to move the car.
That's
and
what she said.
And I said, yes.
I don't want to hear you until I look at you and say to you, speak. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yeah, I hear you.
No, that's not my question. My question is, do you understand? Not whether you hear. I was sure you heard me. Question is, do you understand what I said?
I understand.
Good. Now.
So I told her, yes, you will move the car.
And then what happened?
I went to the apartment right in where my truck was parked at, apartment B, and asked them if I could use the phone to call the police.
Okay.
And I called the police, and I told them that there was a lady parked in the fire lane. She wouldn't move the car. I had my back towards her, and just as I started to turn around...
You were in somebody's apartment?
No, I was outside beside my truck, which was a good 25 feet away from her car.
Okay, go ahead.
I had my back towards Miss Ross, and I just started to turn around. I seen her running at me from behind. And at that point, she stabbed me underneath my eye with her keys and began to scratch my face.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She came out cussing and being very belligerent to me, and she kept cussing at me. She came out with that phone and swung. When she swung at me, she got swung back on.
And later today,
your son was in jail. Domestic abuse. You spoke to your granddaughter.
I called her that day. That day I got called out of work to get $500 for my father to get bailed out of jail.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melba Sane says, during an argument over a parking space, Evelyn Ross gouged her eyes. Evelyn says Melba swung first.
Okay. You have photographs of what your face looked like?
Your Honor, that's not what happened. That's not the truth.
I thought you said you understood.
I guess I forgot saying that, but that's not the truth.
I thought you said you understood.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'll hear you.
Miss Sane started off by telling me to move my car, and she said it at least 5 times, and there is a police report from me to the Arlington police saying that. I told her she did not have to talk to me like that in order for me to move my car. On April 2nd, 2002, my daughter had a state track meet in which I was already running late to get to. She came out cussing and being very belligerent to me was the reason I got defensive. When she got those people's phone, she ran up to the car on the phone, shaking her finger at me. I'm moving my car, and she was still coming out.
Just a second, Miss Ross. You just said that she came up shaking her finger at you, but you were already moving your car.
Right.
So you were inside of your car.
Right.
But there came a time when you moved outside of your car, because I'm looking at these photographs of her face. So at some point, you got out of your car. When did you get out of your car?
I got out of my car once it was out of the middle of the parking lot into a parking place.
Okay, now just 1 second, so that let me understand this, Miss Ross. You were in your car, and she was being belligerent, and she was on the phone, and she was yelling and cursing at you.
Right.
So you get into your car, and you put it in reverse?
Yes.
And you move back.
Into a parking spot.
Just a second. You move back.
Right.
Into a parking space.
Right.
And then what do you do?
I got out of my car.
Now you're on your way and you're running late to your daughter's track meet. You want to explain to me why you got out of your car?
Because I left something inside of the house.
Really?
And
what
yes.
did you leave inside of the house?
I'm not sure at this point what it was, but I got out of my car for a reason. Either my cigarettes or something, cigarettes, lighter, one of the two.
Either your cigarettes or your lighter that were, I assume, more important than the track meet that your daughter was in.
No, it wasn't more important.
Okay.
It wasn't more important.
So what did you do when you got out of the car?
I got out of the car and attempted to go back around to my friend's house, and she kept cussing at me. And when she came out with that phone and swung. When she swung at me, she got exactly those scratches. She got swung back on. She swung first, and Arlington Police Department have a report saying so. She swung first. That's the reason it wasn't a criminal case.
I'll see the police report, please.
See it.
I'll see the police report. You think I believe your story that you left something inside? That you were in such fear, Miss Ross, quiet, that you were in such fear of her screaming and cursing at you that you were in your car, you could have gone your own way and stopped off and bought another lighter or a pack of cigarettes, whichever it was that was so important that you can't even remember it now. You would have been out of harm's way and gone, except you decided to pull into a parking space and get out and not confront her. Oh, no. To go back inside to the apartment that you just came from to get something that you can't remember as we speak now and cause this type of damage to her face.
That was from my hand. That's not from a key.
Speak not.
Your Honor.
Well, that's very unfortunate. This friend of yours who finally, after several missed appointments, went to talk to the police. Nobody else, according to the investigating police officer, wanted to get involved in this whole incident. I wonder why. I am satisfied after hearing your testimony and after hearing your testimony that you were the instigator in this whole incident, Miss Ross. You had the absolute ability to extricate yourself, to leave this argument, which you had caused by illegally parking your car.
What was she
I'm speaking! By illegally parking your car and then saying to the kids who came in to tell you to please move your car that I'll move my car when I'm good and ready. That's the kind of persona that I'm seeing as you're standing here testifying today. Those are the exact words that would come out of your mouth. Now, I'm not saying that Miss Sain didn't use some vulgarities when you finally did come out. I believe she did. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. That does not give you the right to cause the injuries that you did, which you caused. And for that, I am awarding the plaintiff $5,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused.
She was the instigator.
She approached me and attacked me from behind.
She started it.
I have a statement from a dermatologist about the scars on my face.
She got her butt whooped because of it.
There's a hole in my face.
Looked like someone had been mauled by a grizzly bear.
She came out cussing and swinging at me.
It's consistent, he says, with a stab wound.
And I'm not going to ever let anybody hit me and just walk away or drive away.